What is up, adventurers, and welcome to another ShawnSetGO video. Today is a little bit of a somber video as we begin to get past all of the changes that are tending to what I believe is the idea that we're constantly trying to keep WoW in the competitive scene. We're trying to keep it relevant for the MDI. We're trying to keep it relevant for the Race the World First. We're trying to keep it relevant to these people who have made WoW their career. But what about the other 99%? The people who have made this their regular escape from whatever it might be, the people who enjoy this game regularly. And that's where this post comes in. The post says, what happened to the open world experience in WoW? I just need to let out some frustration here, or rather some sadness. What I enjoy most about World of Warcraft is randomly meeting other players out in the open world. I've been playing since Burning Crusade and have mostly been into PvP. Some of my best memories are from encounters with other players out in the world, but with every new expansion, I feel like the world has gotten lonelier. I don't even remember exactly when War Mode was introduced, but ever since then, I barely see anyone out there. The game feels empty, and only in certain areas like major cities or quest hubs do you see any real activity. The open world has become more of an annoying side feature. For me, is the worst part. Because I spend most of my time in WoW roaming the open world. Does anyone else feel the same way? Or I'm just missing something important. That is why also I take breaks for several months, only to come back occasionally, hoping to run into a few people out there again. And I do think these are things that while we're sitting there making add-ons that tend to making everybody compete at a higher level, or making Mythic accessible, and the only way they can make Mythic hard for people now with add-ons and everything like that is to give you basically more circles on the ground, because they've said it themselves now that the only way they can give you a challenge beyond everything else, the call outs and the debuffs and the AoEs, is to put circles on the ground for you. They're at a point where the game is just gonna get harder, but they're going to make it ways that the add-ons aren't currently solving, because it's the ones that you can't respond to because of an add-on. So now this game becomes, in the PvE sense, a way of how can we play, or how can we gear well enough to where we don't have to communicate. And PvP has been gone for a long time. More people use War Mode not to interact with other players, but to basically get the extra XP and occasionally die to somebody who's max level who's trying to participate in this. It's actually ridiculous. And when you get posts like this, the first response you think is like, hey, it still exists. And it kind of is. It says that, like the first post, and one of the most popular posts out of here, or comments, is, I'm still finding that the experience is on RP realms, where the love for Azeroth can still be felt. Moving to Moonguard on Dragonflight revitalized my love for the game. I moved to Moonguard for the same reason. The RP. Yeah, me too. Same reason. Yeah, we don't talk about Moonguard, but the people responding to this are like basically saying that the RP has even become hollow in a sense, because now with RP even, there's so much add-ons and micro communities and I guess things you have to learning curve your way through that aren't introduced by the game itself, that even those social aspects are not necessarily easy to get into. There are barriers to entry even with something like that. This one says, definitely agree, RP realms are much more social and immersive. However, over the years, the game has introduced multiple game optimization design changes that led to the world feeling overall more empty, even on RP realms. The first group of these decisions are related to splitting the player base who play in the same realm, sharding, war mode, chromie time. The second group relates to traveling, while locations and gameplay related aspects, including all co-op activities, continue to be designed around the ground. The game continues to leverage flying as the key traveling mechanism. And I know a lot of you are going to say like, well, Siren Owl was an exception when it was popular. Now it's empty. And by the way, if you plan on, I don't know if this is just me, but if you don't have like a tanking class and you can't solo those world bosses, there's nothing there for you to, like, you can't do anything. So you can't really use the ring unless you're like a tanking class or something that is much more tanky, or try going in with a rogue and it was just awful. Like I couldn't solo it. It wasn't great. I'm just sitting there trying to level my character that just got maxed out, and it's like, oh well, I guess I'm gonna come back here when I'm geared. Maybe I have a chance at it. so Siren Owl is not an exception to this. And the third group relates to activities. First of all, vanilla design quests in a way that requires you to travel all around the world to level up, get new abilities via quest. On top of that, there was no quest helper, so people wondered much more. because leveling was higher and because there was no looking LFG, they had to talk to one another. I often bounce between thinking that this was the case, but I even think that I want to say that if you had put LFG in that era, would we still have the same experience? I just think people were different. I think people played the games differently back then. I think it's truly that. It being introduced in the Wrath era was much after people had, you know, gotten used to the game and played the game. Like the mass populace had gotten used to the game, even though the numbers were technically at its best and worst, I guess, technically, because they stopped posting those numbers. So I like it to me, it's something I bounce between going like, would it have been the same even back then? A lot of people I think immediately think yes, so I'm inclined to believe yes, but I just don't know. The open world is still there, but people change how they play the game. Not even classic is the same as vanilla. Exactly, like it's truly not. I think you can still play classic without like the add-ons experience, but I think most people, because retail requires add-ons, that's what dissuades them for the most part from, like, I guess, going beyond that stage. I agree. I was out for the game for a decade, then I jumped back in with the group to play online. Valheim, I found the pace of the world, tackled the game almost depressing. It was basically reading off the wiki page and doing whatever it said as efficiently as possible. Yeah, like, I guess, you know, I think this is where I was saying first was, like, you know, the competitive nature of the game. I think because there is this desire both by the Blizzard team and by the, I guess, the loudest voices in the community to maintain WoW as being a competitive game, not just an adventure game, that people honestly optimize the fun out of their own experience. But on top of that, the Blizzard as constantly updating and changing the game, instead of steering into the behaviors that would make it more sociable, they're steering into the behaviors that make it more hyper competitive, because that's what keeps it in the scene, I guess, to them. So that's what people want to view and watch. So that's everything else is just is extra. It's not necessarily what they're focusing on. But I mean, not to be all doom and gloom, I think there are things that are not competitive nature that are being added to the game, but whenever the features for competitive, like the competitive parts of the game, are being prioritized, optimized better, and the parts that aren't, you know, say like the Holophal event, the issues with the upcoming horrific visions, and then going back and forth with those things, but then also, I mean, maybe it's both, because then you also have the fact that the NAR system that they're implementing is being changed and modified, and then now you have single button rotations and the issue with the cooldown manager in its release, as well as the button assists. You know, like is it going to be, I guess, is it going to be exactly what people are wanting? Is it going to be the accessibility feature as they claim, or is it just simply going to be, well, now I know about this rotation add-on, this one punishes me for using it, why don't I just use the add-on that doesn't punish me for using it and then go back to single button rotations? Or will people use it to help them and improve the game? Will it be the actual tool that people start to learn their abilities? It's kind of like one of those things that it's hard to understand where it's going to go. I think there's a couple of different pathways that this goes. I'm more inclined to believe that it's going to go the more degenerate way and the min-max way, versus it's going to be this way that's going to fix the complexities of classes. But these are the things that, to me, I think contribute to the game being hollow. This one says, in my opinion, WoW still has everything it used to, but people just don't play the game the same way anymore. In general, online games of all genres have become so competitive that the majority of non-lifers just min-max with the shortest path. I don't think it's just non-lifers. I think it's people with minimal time too. If you're limited on your amount of time, if you value your time in any sort of way, at a certain point, you're going to want to go, how can I get the most value out of my time? And I don't think someone should be blamed for that, for that being the way they want to handle things at all. The idea of an online persistent world where you just go about explore and make adventures is long gone, at least in the multiplayer scene. In general, I feel like this is apparent in society too. We prefer to live in big cities, but we never have been farther apart. People are chase personal success, but for what? We used to have communities and be able and be sacrificial to help others. That's what made old school WoW great. Not the game, but the people playing the game. Yeah, I mean, even games like RuneScape, you know, I mean, like the original place that I guess you could see like the MMO housing for I guess for me, but the place that I saw housing first, you know, I think that there was a time even playing games like that where they have maintained their communities, but they've also valued different things. You know, the skill grind of course is important, but there's a lot more value put in to a character. I think they have like Iron Man, as well as like celebrations of like maxing out your skills. So there's still huge communities that surround those things, and I think a very vocal, like positive community towards their games. So I think there's still games that can maintain that, but that's also they've had development teams that have worked to maintain that community and keep those things alive, and those things are still alive and well. I don't think Blizzard has necessarily shot for the same thing. Maybe housing will be the change of that. You know, you'll see people going into old war content more actively to upgrade their own personal houses. But I have a feeling that it's going to be the people who have already benefited from the game the most already versus the people who have been looking for something to do in WoW for a long time. So it's going to be the people who are already, you know, maxing out their goals, taking advantage of auction house, the fact that more and more people aren't using their own professions but just using the auction house to buy whatever they need, and then additionally the people who have plenty of alts, plenty of time, plenty of characters to max out how quickly they can earn things in the game versus people who maybe have 1, 2, 3 characters. So I feel like the housing system, as good or as positive as I think that the updates have been about it, I think it's going to be kind of benefiting the 1%ers group versus benefiting people altogether. As much as I want to think that there's going to be a situation where everyone's going to have equal chance at it, I really don't think that's been the way things have been for a long time. So that's my kind of negativity about it. But so I moved to an active realm population wise. Also, dragon riding takes some of the grandness from the world. Best to slow down. It's not the good old days, but it's still fun. I wonder. I mean, because I like dragon riding like as a thing, but I wonder if it wouldn't be better to just restore flying the way it was, and have dragon riding exist only between paths. So you're still using flight paths, and you can still have flying, but you know, I guess it's just less fast. I suppose I was really surprised. I do still see people use flight paths, but I don't want to say getting rid of flying altogether would be the way to do it, but I think on a mass scale, I'd be curious to see what would happen. You know, like how players would behave and how the game would either improve or not improve. You know, it's just sometimes it's like it would definitely harm like the resource farming community, and people like doing world quests and stuff like that. But I wonder if it would change overall for the better. I mean, I feel like PvP would improve overall for the better, but then again, like people trying to level quickly and not deal with that, maybe it doesn't matter because they dungeon people just dungeon the whole time, or people just delve their way to 80 nowadays, so it doesn't really matter. But I just wonder. I'm curious about what would happen if anything would change. There's no reason to be in the open worlds if people are just not there. Siren Isle was packed when it came out, but now there's no one. Undermine was packed when it came out. There's still a lot of people there, but not as many. Nightfall was packed. It's packed right now, but you're never going to have a combo with anyone because everyone is there to do it. An objective, not to just not to talk. People who want to socialize are in a city talking in trade chat in open world. If I'm in the open world, I'm doing something. Yeah. I'll recommend talking with anyone in a trade chat, and this is all true. There's no opportunities to be social. I think the most you got was like for maybe like the 20th anniversary, where people were like actively grouping. It seemed like a lot, whether it's for BRD or for just a world boss rotation. You would get some combos out of there, especially for like doing all the world bosses on top of that. They happened more often at least. But I don't think there's anything that's being really integrated into the Hollow event, Hollow Fall event, where it's like, hey, make a group with other players. Let's do this event together. You know, let's complete it together. Like, or like, hey, you can do this solo, but it's more beneficial to do it as a group. Hey, you can do this as a group and split up and all receive XP. And, you know, like, even though you're split up, you can communicate, get these things done in the area. Like, there's just it feels like there's no implementations done in these events to try to make them fun and group based. It just seems like a completion marker, and time locking and stuff like that is not. It's not a social event either. Even if you have people who are just farming it for the sake of just farming it because they like doing time walking and only time walking. Those people exist. People make twin characters for that specifically, but there's no communication happening in time walking. So I just think if I were to come up with a solution for a way for the game overall to fix some of these social issues, I think what needs to happen is Blizzard needs to do something to where every event, every quest that or every thing that can be conceivably put as a group event needs to be more convincingly made into a group event, whether it's through benefits. If you're doing quests together, daily quests together, make it to where you can help each other out by completing these faster. Make it to where either the benefits are more or it's just easier and there's less travel time. If you don't have systems there, people are going to pick the route of least resistance if it means that having a second person just causes extra trouble. It's like if you're going to do Underpin, there's no reason for you to do it in more than a solo situation, because who do you trust beyond yourself to do better than you? Probably nobody. And if you add another person, that's one more body, so the boss fight's going to be that much harder. So it's like if things scale based on your group members and your group member isn't pulling their own weight or pulling their own weight plus you, then it's going to be a drag, right? So I feel like there's too many situations where just doing it solo is better. I used to and somewhat and still am an advocate for doing delves, like your tier 11s in a group, because it's really quick, but I know how to run them really quick as a tank, and also I don't have to worry about people messing up and just dying where they shouldn't be dying, and then I lose all my lives, and then we just have a wasted run because the treasure at the end is now gone because someone died to circles. So that's just the way it is. So in this last post, it says we are one expansion from never having to leave the house while also never leaving the house. And Azeroth, the peak of our antisocial existence is almost here. It's the only way to be able to own a house in 2025, 2026. Yeah, that's actually kind of true, unfortunately. And I think people are going to advocate for things like this, you know, having a portal room in your house so you can just go to every raid. You don't even have to travel there. And then so many people angry about housing in the comments. Maybe it's just not for you. The section of the player base, role players have been asking for housing. It's vanilla. If you don't like it, don't use it. Imagine raiders losing their cool because Blizzard dared to add a new arena map. I don't even want this. This is bad. I think people are upset by it because the dwindling like social aspect, that it's just going to be about like, hey, I want to like my house is amazing, but I don't want to show it to anybody because like people don't want to compare achievements, or they're like, there's no reason for you to look at my house or for me to look at your house or for us to even interact, maybe even if we're in the same community, there's no reason for us to do anything here, because they like the 5 people who have interesting things in their house are bots anyways, and they're just selling stuff. So like, can I get out of this community? I feel like there's not going to be a lot of things that are going to be convincing enough to beyond personal reasons to do housing like that. So I don't know, maybe the solution is RP. Maybe the solution is making the game more accommodating to a RP setting. But personally, I don't think so. I think that there has to be things that Blizzard is implementing in the game that makes the game worthwhile playing in a group. I think right now you can basically solo almost anything you're doing, and everything you can't, you can pug. So it's like, why have a guild? Why stick with the group? Why at the end of a dungeon say like, hey, you guys want to run another? It happens a few times here and there, but it's just, I feel like it's so rare because trust is just gone nowadays. So I think that the game is heading down a path of accommodating only the aspects which make the game competitive, to keep it relevant to the people who have made this their livelihood, their careers, because we don't make careers out of the people who just do their dailies or focus on transmog. Make the careers out of people who are so good they make the guides and they make the raids relevant, or they put the Mythic Plus on a show on YouTube, you know, for everyone to watch, and that's what we care about. So is something like housing, is something that is going to provide that true open world experience for players going to get as much love? That remains to be seen. But let me know in the comments, of course, what do you think are the things you're looking forward to in the game that are aspects that can provide some of that open world experience, or things that you're holding on to that are still enjoyable for you, beyond the ones I said. Let me know in the comments. Of course, like this video if you liked it, subscribe to the page while you're at it. We're right now finally starting to climb again in subscribers. We hit sort of plateaus in YouTube world, but on our road, we're just about like 150 away from hitting 1,500 subscribers, which is huge. And guys, I appreciate you guys being so supportive of the content, of the podcast, of the streams recently as well. I appreciate everybody for hanging out with us, especially when we play things like indies and things other than WoW. So thank you. I wouldn't be here doing this without you guys, so I appreciate it. But until next time, I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.